So we're going to quickly review figuring out the GCF, greatest common factor, and LCM, least common multiple, using what we refer to as the ladder method, sometimes referred to as the cake method. Okay, so let's get started if we could. So you should know already, or the ladder and the cake method should look familiar to you, but I'll review quickly. If I was looking to find the greatest common factor of, say, 16 and 24, and you didn't know off the top of your head, then this is what you would do. You would put an upside down long division house, and you would find any common factor shared between 16 and 24. Now, I know that 2 goes in. I'm going to guess something slightly bigger. I'm going to say 4. And then I'm simply going to divide out. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. And I'm going to now see if I can repeat the process again. As long as I have two numbers that might still have a common factor, I will continue to factor out. So in this case, 4 and 6 are even. The next number I can think of that goes in as a factor is 2. One more time, divide out. So let's see, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And when I get down here, I see the greatest common factor that I can fit into both 2 and 3 is a 1. So I am done. So how do we make use of this information? Well, as a quick reminder, what I like to do is I like to put a big G around those numbers just going down the left-hand side. And that's going to remind me that my GCF, my greatest common factor, is made up of those numbers, 4 times 2, which is 8. Now, the least common multiple, I will go back and I'm going to put the equivalent of a big L around all of the numbers, not just the left side, but down the bottom. And that's a reminder that my LCM is made up of the 4 times the 2, which we already did, times the 2 on the bottom, and then times the 3 more. So let's see, I know 4 times 2 is already 8. I'm going to just kind of break this up into pieces. 2 times 3 is 6. I know 8 times 6 gives me 48. So my LCM is 48. So what happens now if we were to expand this into 3 numbers? Well, I'm going to take the same 2 numbers, 16 and 24, and I'm going to add a third number, 18. And we're going to start out in the same way. So I'm going to start by figuring out any number that goes evenly into 16, 24, and 18 as a common factor. Well, I know that is definitely 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Now, when I look at this next layer of numbers, actually, I'm going to change those to black. So let's see, I said 8, 12, and 9. If I look at this next layer and there's no common factor shared between all 3 numbers, I know that I have hit my greatest common factor. So in this case, my GCF is already determined as being 2. Now, here's where things get a little bit different with our cake. We would normally say that we've hit the end of the road because 8, 12, and 9, we've just said, share no other common factor. But I need to look at these numbers in pairs. If any 2 of these numbers share a common factor, I continue the process. So I can see that 8 and 12 definitely share a common factor. I can see 12 and 9 share a common factor. So I'm going to start with the 8 and the 12. So the 8 and the 12, let's see, I know that 4 goes in. Now 8 divided by 4 is 2, 12 divided by 4 is 3, but 9 is not divided by 4. So this is the adjustment we make. We drop that 9 down. It just carries down. And now I have a new layer of cake. And I look once again if there's any combination of numbers, any pair of numbers that have a common factor. And this time I can see the 3 and the 9 do. They share a common factor of 3. So I'll put that on the outside. Well, once again, 2 cannot be divided by 3, so the 2 drops down. 3 is divisible by 3, gives me 1. 9 is divisible by 3, that gives me 3. And when I look one more time, there's no two of these numbers that share a common factor. So at this point, I have definitely hit the bottom of the road. So let's review where we are from here. We started with 3 numbers. When I went to do the cake or the ladder method, I was focused on all 3 numbers sharing common factors, and I would continue that process as long as all 3 did. And in this case, they only shared the common factor of 2, and that was it. So that's my GCF. From there, I continue growing my layers or building my layers, but focusing on any 2 of the 3. And once we continue that process and finish, I now have all the numbers in my L. So my LCM is going to be made up of all of those numbers multiplied together. So I know it's made up of 2 times 4 times 3 times 2. We could say times 1 because it's there. That's not going to have any relevance. Times 3 one more time. Let's see, I know 4 times 2 is 8. I know 3 times 2 is 6. I know 8 times 6 is 48, but I still have to multiply by the 3. And by the time I'm all done, I get an LCM of 144. So that is how we modify our cake method for 2 or more numbers. In this case, we will only use it for 3 numbers. I hope that's helpful because there will be some problems I ask you to do that will require you to find the LCM of 3 numbers.